The rain hammered against the windows of our small cottage in Dorset, mirroring the storm raging inside me. Osvaldo, a 44-year-old architect, had always prided myself on my stability, my calm demeanor. I loved Elara with a quiet intensity, a love built on shared dreams and whispered promises under starry skies. We'd met in London, a whirlwind romance amidst the bustling city, and soon escaped to the countryside, seeking solace and a simpler life. Elara, a vibrant artist, filled our home with color and laughter, or at least that's how I remembered it. Now the memories felt tainted, like a beautiful painting slowly being defaced. It started subtly. Elara began spending more time at her studio in Bridport, claiming commissions were piling up. I was thrilled for her. Her art was her passion. But the late nights grew more frequent, the excuses more elaborate. I brushed it off, attributing it to the demands of her craft. I was a fool, blinded by love and trust. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday. I'd finished a particularly grueling project and decided to surprise Elara with dinner at her favorite pub, the Sailor's Return. I drove to Bridport, the anticipation lifting my spirits. But when I arrived at her studio, the door was locked, the lights off. I called her phone. It went straight to voicemail. A wave of unease washed over me. I walked to the pub, hoping she'd be there, perhaps meeting a client. I scanned the familiar faces, the cozy interior, but Elara wasn't there. I ordered a pint, trying to quell the rising anxiety. Maybe she was just running late. Maybe my imagination was getting the better of me. 2 hours later, I was back in the cottage, staring at the unanswered phone. Elara finally called at 11 p.m., her voice breathy. "Osvaldo, darling, I'm so sorry. I got caught up with a client in Lyme Regis. We went for dinner to discuss a new commission. My phone died. Lyme Regis." A sudden, sharp pain pierced my chest. Lyme Regis was in the opposite direction of our home. "A client?" I asked, my voice strained. "Who? Just a local businessman," she stammered. "You don't know him." I didn't push it. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it began to fester. The next few weeks were a blur of suspicion and denial. I started paying closer attention to Elara's behavior. Her eyes avoided mine, her laughter sounded forced, her touch felt different. One afternoon, while Elara was supposedly at her studio, I decided to drive to Bridport. I told myself I just wanted to bring her lunch, a gesture of love to dispel my growing paranoia. But as I neared her studio, I saw a figure emerge. A man, tall, with dark hair, wearing a tailored suit. He kissed Elara goodbye, a lingering kiss that sent a jolt of icy dread through my veins. I slammed on the brakes, my heart pounding in my chest. I watched, frozen, as the man walked away. Elara turned and saw me, her face drained of color. "Osvaldo," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I didn't say a word. I simply stared at her, the betrayal etched on my face. She didn't deny it. She couldn't. I drove back to the cottage, numb. Elara followed, her desperate pleas echoing in my ears. I locked myself in my study, the silence amplifying the deafening roar of my shattered world. She eventually stopped pleading and slipped a note under the door. "Osvaldo, please, let me explain. It's not what you think." I crumpled the note in my fist. What else could it be? I spent the night pacing, replaying every moment of our relationship, searching for clues I had missed, red flags I had ignored. The next morning, I confronted her. "Who is he?" "Elara," she hesitated, her eyes filled with tears. "His name is Barnaby. He's helping me with a new exhibition." "Helping you?" I scoffed. "Is that what you call it?" She broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. "It just happened, Osvaldo. I didn't mean for it to. He's charming, successful. He makes me feel alive. As if I hadn't made her feel alive. As if our life together, our dreams, our love meant nothing." "How long?" I asked, my voice cold. "A few weeks," she whispered. "Just a few weeks. A few weeks. Enough time to shatter my world, to destroy everything we had built together." I told her to leave. I couldn't bear to look at her, to hear her voice, to be in the same room with her. She begged for forgiveness, promised it would never happen again. But the trust was gone, irrevocably broken. She left that day, taking with her a suitcase full of clothes and a lifetime of memories. The cottage felt empty, hollow, haunted by the ghost of our love. I spent the next few weeks in a daze, barely eating, barely sleeping. Friends called, offering support, but I pushed them away. I needed to be alone, to process the pain, to understand how I could have been so blind. One evening, while rummaging through Elara's old sketchbooks, I found something that stopped me cold. A drawing, a detailed sketch of Barnaby, and on the back a date, 6 months ago, 6 months. Their affair had been going on for 6 months, not a few weeks. The lies, the deceit ran deeper than I could have imagined. A cold fury washed over me. I wasn't just heartbroken, I was enraged. I had been played for a fool, betrayed in the most profound way possible. I decided I needed to know everything. I hired a private investigator, a gruff but efficient woman named Meredith. I gave her everything I had: Elara's phone records, Barnaby's name, any information that could shed light on their affair. Meredith worked quickly. Within a week, she had a file full of information. Photos of Elara and Barnaby together, not just in Bridport but in London, in Bath, in clandestine meetings at hotels and restaurants. But the most shocking revelation was Barnaby himself. He wasn't just a local businessman. He was Barnaby Finch, a wealthy property developer with a reputation for ruthless ambition and a string of broken hearts. He was also married. Elara had not only cheated on me, but she had done so with a man who was equally deceitful, a man who was using her for his own amusement. The anger inside me burned hotter than ever. I wanted revenge. I wanted to make them both pay for the pain they had inflicted on me. I started by contacting Barnaby's wife, a woman named Isidora. I hesitated, knowing that revealing the truth would shatter her world as well. But I couldn't let Barnaby get away with it. He had to face the consequences of his actions. Isidora was initially skeptical, dismissing my claims as the rantings of a jilted lover. But I presented her with the evidence Meredith had gathered: the photos, the phone records, the undeniable truth of their affair. The shock on her face was heartbreaking. She thanked me, her voice trembling, and promised to deal with Barnaby. I don't know what happened between them, but a week later I read in the local paper that Barnaby Finch had resigned from his company, citing personal reasons. His reputation was in tatters, his career in ruins. As for Elara, I didn't contact her. I didn't want to. I knew that her affair with Barnaby had been a mistake, a moment of weakness. But the damage was done. Our love was dead, and I couldn't bring it back to life. I focused on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, designing new buildings, creating new spaces. I started running again, finding solace in the rhythm of my feet against the pavement, the wind in my face. It wasn't easy. The pain lingered, a dull ache in my heart. But slowly, gradually, I began to heal. I learned to forgive myself for being so naive, so trusting. I learned that love, while beautiful, can also be fragile, and that betrayal can come from the most unexpected places. A year later, I was walking along the beach in Lyme Regis, the same beach where Elara had supposedly met her client. I saw a figure in the distance, sitting on a bench, staring out at the sea. It was Elara. I hesitated, unsure whether to approach her. But curiosity got the better of me. I walked towards her, my heart pounding in my chest. She looked up, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and regret. "Osvaldo," she said softly. We sat in silence for a moment, the only sound the crashing of the waves. "How are you, Elara?" I asked. "I'm okay," she said. "I'm working at a small gallery in Dorchester. It's not the same as my studio, but it's something." "And Barnaby?" I asked, unable to resist the question. Her face hardened. "He's gone. He left me shortly after his wife found out about us. He's moved to Spain, I heard." I didn't say anything. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, but it was quickly overshadowed by the memory of her betrayal. "I'm sorry, Osvaldo," she said, her voice trembling. "I know it doesn't mean much, but I truly am sorry. I ruined everything." I looked at her, at the pain in her eyes, and I realized that she had suffered as well. Barnaby had used her, discarded her, just as he had used and discarded countless others. "I know," I said. "But it's over, Elara. We can't go back." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand." We sat in silence for a few more minutes, then I stood up to leave. "Goodbye, Elara," I said. "Goodbye, Osvaldo," she replied. I walked away, leaving her alone on the beach. I didn't feel any sense of closure, no triumphant vindication. Just a profound sadness, a lingering reminder of the love we had lost, the trust we had broken. The rain had stopped, and the sun was beginning to peek through the clouds, casting a golden glow on the sea. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the fresh, salty air. The storm had passed both outside and inside me, and I knew with a certainty that surprised me that I would be okay. I would survive. I would rebuild. I would find love again. But I would never forget the lessons I had learned, the pain I had endured, the betrayal that had changed my life forever.